Watch this bit. This is good.
Hello and welcome to another video, and it's all about the ZX Spectrum Next once again. And this time, before we get to the sort of the meat and potatoes of it, just check out, it did come out on Sunday, just gone. I've not been too well, that's why I've not done it as of yet, but enough about my problems. The most important thing is that you've still got time. If you have the Kickstarter, you're waiting the Kickstarter ZX Spectrum Next, make sure your address is up to date. So, as it says on there, Arnie says do it now, if that's a reference that's over your head. Because Arnie usually says different things in the Terminator films. It's a reference to one of the PPI adverts when they finished on August 29th, I think, last year. Somehow they got Arnie's likeness, and it was just a dreadful experience all round. But it was what it was, and thankfully the PPI adverts have gone away forever. But still, just make sure you got the address correct. Otherwise, your next might go to somebody else. So the first main part of this new update is assembly and testing, the next test. After SMS had built the first 500 units, Kev Brady travelled to SMS in order to bring their engineers up to speed with his new Next Test application, and to supervise the initial testing in order to ensure that each Next performs to its specification and that the application itself was consistent. Next Test is a mouse-driven application to test the ZX Spectrum Next. It stress tests the hardware by running several tasks in parallel to check RAM and DMA. CRC verified audio data is continually streamed to the DAC via the copper coprocessor to test the SD card. All test results, including the input status from the keyboard, joysticks, mouse and case buttons, are presented on one single 640 by 256 screen. Next Test can be configured on the fly to change the CPU turbo speed, refresh rate and machine timing between 48K, 128K and Pentagon. It goes above and beyond manual testing and also streamlines the process, making it quicker and more efficient. Huge thanks to Kev for dedicating his time creating this software and for taking time out to visit SMS to bring them up to speed and to guide the creation of the new testing documentation.
Humanoids.
So that's just a very short bit of the video there. The full thing is on the Kickstarter page, which I'll link in the video description below. There's a picture there. It's Next Central. It's the assembly area. And then we move on to the boards, and they're brought to life with a quick flash to burn the firmware in. And this is where the board and the case meet for the first time. Love at first sight. Ah. And here we have a box of cases, symmetrical keyboard stacking. You're right, no human would stack keyboards like this, wouldn't we? And testing in progress, both VGA and HDMI outputs here. Hundreds of Next, all snug and getting ready for their travels. I want mine. And in addition to the base tests above, Wi-Fi is tested with an adapted version of the Wi-Fi.bas program, which launches straight into the access point detection and allows an operator to validate the ESP module in a few seconds. I'll try and get some of the video working. My internet's decided to just really go pants on me. Well, this is a problem I've had with Virgin Media pretty much for about a week now. They're supposed to be sorting it out. They're not really. And so feel my pain as Virgin Media just screw me over again and again. But anyway, enough about my problems again. With these tests in place, SMS is able to make sure the Next is being packed, fully functioning, hopefully arriving in the same state to every single backer. The next step is the Raycasting Engine on the Next. If you follow the Next on social media, you'll probably have noticed a proof of concept appearing recently, which bears a striking resemblance to Wolfenstein 3D. Mike Daly has been working on the Raycasting Engine for this for a number of weeks now, and has been improving it vastly with each iteration. Jim Bagley then put his coding hat on and added the game elements which really brings this world to life. It's a stunning demonstration of what is possible on the Next, even without using the accelerator. Next up we have Next Arcade Goodness. Rusty Pixels has been visiting the arcades again and decided to bring PacMan to the Next. This is an adaptation of the PacMan arcade machine which uses the original arcade ROMs, and as such it is perfect in its execution. If you own the original arcade ROMs you can now play it on the Next. In order to factor in the resolution of the Next, Rusty Pixels have opted to give gamers a number of choices for the display. By default, due to the lost vertical resolution, the maze will scroll up and down based on where PacMan is at the time. Optional ghost markers can be enabled to show the locations of any ghosts which may be off screen. If you have a screen which you can rotate into portrait, you can rotate the game too and get the full field of play as in this video below. Thanks to Rusty Pixels for all the hard work, and to DVDfeverGames who worked on the additional graphical elements. Please note that ROMs will not be supplied with this title. You will have to own the ROMs yourself to run the game. Wireless goodness. Robin Verhagen Guest has been busy developing software that allows for ESP Wi-Fi module firmware updates from the Next itself. It's still in the development stages, but it is looking hugely promising. There are various flavours of the ESP module in the wild in terms of the firmware. Whilst they all look the same, inside things could be subtly different. When we consider the various possibilities of procurement, different vendors and new firmware releases occurring over time, it's not possible to get complete consistency, and as such there may be slight functional variances across different firmware for those who update their Next to feature Wi-Fi on their own. The ability to write consistent firmware to ESP modules will give developers a known quantity to work with. It may also allow enhancements to be made to the firmware to better suit the needs of the Next and patch any security flaws found in Wi-Fi protocols, etc. Again, an example of what the team is trying to achieve in order to remove any need for the end user to open up their Next, or to have to shop around to find an ESP sample with the most effective firmware. Technical manual. Whilst the Next manual will already be a thing of beauty, DVDfeverGames was pondering the subsequent funding of a full colour version that would make some of the elements in the manual pop out. It will also likely feature some additional content. He created a poll on the Spectrum Next Facebook page to gauge interest. Head over there and participate if you fancy a special version of the manual. Don't worry if you don't believe in the social media thing, we're not asking you to create an account on there, we just need to get a certain amount of interest, so for those of you already on Facebook, head over and vote if you haven't already. And there we have it, and as you can see there's a massive amount of people who want to pre-sale for a colour manual, which it says it's going to be about £38. I'm up for that. And from the not so old archive. We found some video in the archive showing a few of the steps involved in assembling the case for the Next. The application of the threaded inserts, the fitment of the buttons, and a final visual inspection of the finish and lettering. I thought cool to share it with you. Check it out. And almost finally, next steps. The last batch of cases is on its way to SMS as you read this, meaning we're now full steam ahead on assembly and preparation for shipping. We now have over 500 decks built and waiting to be boxed at SMS, with another 300 plus still to go through the assembly process in order to fulfill the first tier, base models. We intend to start shipping out towards the end of this month, so it's time to start thinking about where to put your next in your home. Once we've shipped the next, we'll head over to Kickstarter 2 for those who didn't manage to join in the original campaign. Let's grow the ZX Spectrum Next community, keep on making great things with the Next and having a ton of fun. And the next update will be entitled It's Shipping. Now there is a poll on the SpecNext website where you can say, would you back a Kickstarter 2? I would, but I would like, I'll be having the, I've got the one coming which has all the accelerated model, which basically has all the bells and whistles on it, which means that I will not be getting the first batch to come, which is disappointing, but anyway. It's kind of the base model that's coming out first, and then there's all the ones with the bells and whistles. So, I'm going to have to wait. But I'm kind of expecting it to come towards the end of February anyway. So let's just hope it's no later than that. However, when it comes to Kickstarter number 2, what I would like is a ZX Spectrum Next board, but in like a sort of 3D printed case of the original Spectrum. I've seen people make those, and they put the Next board inside. That's what I want. I'm not going to get it with this precise option, so I'm going to have to figure out what to do. Maybe just back a board only option, and then just hope somebody makes, or maybe get a custom made ZX Spectrum Next thing in 3D, and I don't know, I'm going to have to figure it out, but that's what I want. Now this time this video is going to be crazy long as it is already, so I'm not going to go through all the comments. Most of them are either I can't find out where to update my address on the Kickstarter website, which, if you follow the instructions, and they have replied to an awful lot of these, if you follow the instructions you will find it. The others are either saying thank you, or as Damien says, very proud to be a part of this whole endeavour. Who would have thought that all those years ago on Christmas Day 81, that little 48k specky would have planted the seed in my soul that almost 40 years later grew into the next. I for one am so happy that I trusted my gut and pledged. I'm sure it will be a fantastic machine whose place will be cemented in computing history just as its older siblings. Address confirmed as correct. Can't wait for it to arrive here in Canada. Thanks to all those involved. Okay, well, thanks very much for watching. Please like this video and share it with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already, and click on the little bell to get all the notifications, and cue Genesis.